You're listening to a pre-recorded show.
You're listening to the Weekend Real Estate Report on 105.7 The Fan.
You do a great job here giving the audience quite a bit of information. A lot of guys like me, I'm sure a lot of females have certainly have been enlightened and informed to help their life a little bit better. So keep up the good work.
Once again, Carl Delmont.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I just had lunch the other day at my friends at Cooper's with a K, and it was phenomenal. Great October special menu. I had the Cabernet Braised short ribs with cheesy grits and broccolini, and it was outstanding. Let's just say that when the server came back, there was nothing left. He's like, "Did you enjoy that?" And I said, "I think so." But so many good things going on there. So check them out. Brunch on Saturday and Sunday, open 7 days a week, and they do so much in the community and everything else. So check out Cooper's, their original location in Fells Point, their sister restaurant, Salancha, where soccer is religion, great Irish cuisine. That's right there next to them in Fells Point on Thames Street. And then I think the Fells Point Fun Festivals this week and all kinds of stuff going on. But then also their other location, Cooper's North, which is in Lutherville, and same great menu and everything else. But, great people, great food, great service. Tell me I heard it here on the radio. They'll appreciate that. All right, we got with us today our guest who's been on the show many, many times, Tony Zowd, one of the top realtors in the area. And we're fortunate to not only do business with him on the lending side, but really to have him available to us to come on and just talk about the markets and everything else. And, after this jobs report this morning, Friday morning, Tony, it's mortgage rates went up a little bit. Stock market went down. It seems more pain on the way, but demand's still out there. And, it's a different market. And this is where buyers and sellers both really need to work with experienced realtors, but more so realtors who are busy right now because then they really know what's going on in the marketplace. The realtors you look up that did one loan this year, 3 loans last year, but they've been in the business 10 years. Not quite sure that they really have their hands on the pulse of the market, but what's your thoughts on that?
Hey, Carl, thanks for having me as always. Yeah, it's definitely a different market. I have a lot of buyers and sellers both talking to me right now, and it is good to have the experience of over the years and being active right now because I'm actually in the market looking for myself. So, I have people ask me all the time, we go back to that old saying, if you're paying a rent, you're paying 100% interest. So even if the interest rates are high as a buyer, it's still better to pay your mortgage than somebody else's. And, we do anticipate over the next year to 2 years that interest rates are going to come back down. But with the shortage of inventory, I still think housing prices are going to continue to go up. So if you can get in now, there's always that possibility of refinancing. And then I've had them ask me also, it's kind of funny. They're like, well, what if they keep going up? Well, I was like, well, then you got in at a good time because you got in cheaper now than if it goes up in another month or two. So I practice what I preach. Like I said, me and my wife are looking right now for our own property. And I do think it's the best time to buy now because as we go into next year and the following, I don't see us picking up or fixing this inventory anytime soon, which is going to help keep the housing prices up.
Yeah, and I talked about that in the last segment. And, my opinion was, I was saying this for a while, like with the lack of inventory, and there's just little glimmers of hope where some pockets are starting to see it, but rates will normalize. And I'm thinking Q2. So if all of a sudden rates improve from where they are today, that should create more demand. And if that creates more demand, then home prices continue to go up. So one argument is buying now, albeit rates are higher, and you pair it with our Freedmont Free-Fi, which means if the rates drop in the next 3 years, as long as you qualify, we'll refinance you free of lender fees, et cetera. So you could buy a house now with not as much competition that's going to be, say, 6 months, a year from now when rates improve. You get a good value will go up. And then when you refinance, you're not really waiting in line, right? Like you're with the buyer. So you might be able to get the equity and then you just pay a little bit more now, but you pay less down the road. And you can even do a buy down, some other stuff there. So yeah, I do think there's a lot of opportunities in that regard. What's interesting is Fed Chairman Powell was actually in York this past week on Monday doing a small business roundtable. So it was really interesting to hear what he had to say. And more importantly, what the small business owners had to say. So given this jobs report, I think, he's going to have to raise rates again in November. And I do believe that one more rate increase by the Fed will put us into a recession. We probably won't be told we're in one until January, but we'll be in one by Q1. I think maybe possibly December. But and you've been doing this a long time. We've had recessions before. What's your thoughts on your industry and then for buyers and sellers right now?
Again, it's kind of funny because you're right. Like the market's definitely changing. There's still hot pockets. I was out last week, went to put an offer in for a client, and they had 15 offers on the property. So you're still seeing hot areas. And then I have other ones where you're seeing the houses now. Like if you don't hit the right price, and you're not properly marketing it, the houses are starting to drop a little bit, which gives more opportunity to buyers. It's funny because I read a statistic from BlackRock that said for every 1% interest rates drop, you're bringing at least 5 million buyers back into the market. So if they go down 1-2% next year, as everybody's predicting after, maybe quarter two, quarter three, what's the competition going to be like then when we still have the same shortage?
Oh yeah, and to both our points, that just means that whatever values are today, they're definitely going to go up and down the road. So, while nothing's guaranteed in life besides death and taxes, I think this is a pretty certain one. So,
like I said, Carl, my goal this year is to buy a house before the end of the year because I'm afraid to see what the competition is going to be like next year.
Yep. So there it is, coming from a realtor who does this. I mean, that's how you make your living. So that's good stuff. Wanted to talk a little bit too about this whole thing with Redfin leaving NAR. And their CEO gave numerous reasons, but I was curious to get, and I'm not looking to badmouth NAR or Redfin or anyone else, but from your perspective as a longtime realtor, you've probably read the reasons they're giving why they're doing it. What are your thoughts? And part of it is, just for the listening audience, there's been lawsuits. There's now a push where they want buyers to pay part of the commission to realtors. They're splitting with the sellers, et cetera. But there's a few other things as well. NAR kind of has a monopoly on your industry. So I guess a couple part question. Where would Redfin go? Would they just say we don't need the lobbying efforts anymore? We'll benefit anyway because whatever they do is going to benefit all realtors. I mean, I don't know. This whole thing's kind of unique. What's your take on it?
I think you're right there. I mean, they're going to get some benefit because they are a part of the realtor community, right? So the association, I think people get mixed up on what they actually do. They do a lot to help promote like home buying for the public. One of the things that they've went against here recently is, the gas stoves being pulled out of houses and stuff like that. And they don't realize the impact that's going to have. But NAR, HCAR, MAR all went up to basically go to hearings to help fight that. So the public has a right to choose. And with Redfin leaving, I mean, we have real estate companies and realtors out here now that aren't a part of it. I'm a part of it. I'm a major donor because I know what they do to go fight for not only real estate and my industry rights, but also for the public to help them get fair housing. And without them, do you really have a force? Because you need that joint effort, right? You need that voice. The more people we bring into those hearings, the more likely you are to have positive outcomes.
Makes sense. Do you think that this is something where other realtors of like-minded might say, you know what, I'm leaving. I'm going to go to them because of what they're standing for. And conversely, do you think some Redfin agents may say, hey, whoa, we need to, we don't want to take them off. I'm going to go to another agency that's still with them.
I mean, I think it's possible. So the industry is different, right? Like, so where I'm at, I'm with Coldwell Banker. This is a career for me. It's not a job. If you just want a job, to me, that's more of a Redfin kind of blueprint where you're basically, you're just going out and you're getting a paycheck where we're actually working towards the industry. I don't like what Redfin does on that outcome. There's not saying there's not good Redfin agents out there because there are. I just feel like with the association and the backing and everything they do, if we're not supporting that and they're pulling money out, it's going to hurt the industry and people overall. One of the reasons they do the buyer agency and give a commission, right, is so that buyers actually have representation, somebody that's looking out for them, and it's not just the seller. So if you take that away, most sellers are paying the commission on the buyer side, right, because we split our commissions. But if you take that away and the buyer has to do it, how many buyers now that don't have that money because you don't have it out of pocket, where a seller's not taking it out of pocket, they're taking it out of the proceeds, and that same seller's probably buying something else, so that seller's not going to pay on that end. So I think if they take that out and they make it where all the buyers have to pay their own buyer agents, you're going to have a lot of people unrepresented, and I think that's going to lead to a lot of lawsuits because unrepresented buyers that come in with agents that don't know what they're doing and newer, that's where you have problems because there are legal forms that have to be filled out in every contract. The state, the counties require it. So just because you don't work with a realtor, it doesn't mean you're not responsible to provide that to the other side. And I think that's where you'll start seeing a lot of fallout. So I think you'll see some, but I think the majority is still going to stay strong because realtors do look out for the public.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just curious when you see things like this happen, when anyone takes on a trade group, especially the most dominant one, you get that weird dynamic where some will say, I like this fight. I'm going to go to them just because they want to support the cause. And then you have others who are fighting saying, whoa, I don't want to be part of this. I kind of like those guys. And then they, tuck their tail and run to the other side and say, I'm just going to be where it's safe. So I'm just curious, how this may happen. Has this happened before where like a very large firm, like a Redfin size, has said to NAR, we're going on our own?
I haven't heard of anybody at large doing it. I mean, I know there are real estate companies out there that aren't realtors. They're just realtor, or not realtor, but like in realty. So it's a little bit different, but I haven't heard of a large firm doing it like this. And I think some of it's a shift in the market because the people out here that aren't working and we're just laying back and letting stuff come to them, that's not the market you're in anymore, right? It's a more normalized market where you actually have to go do stuff.
Yeah. So to that point, what happens if someone, got in 2020 because, they got laid off doing something else like, oh, easy money. And they did make good money for, I don't know, 18 months. What are their options? They suspend their license, they turn it in, whatever. If you suspend your license, what happens? You just have to continue to pay dues?
Yeah, you can go into referral. So, and you basically put your license in referral so you can refer agents out. So like if I put my license in referral and a buyer or seller came to me, like I say it was my brother or old client, whatever, you can then refer it out to people in your brokerage. So you still get a little bit from that. But the majority of them, I think a lot of them, you're going to start seeing they just let the licensing go because the one thing I do think is wrong with our industry is it's very easy to get in to be a realtor. It does not take much, 60 hours, high school education, over 18. It doesn't take much to be a realtor. It's very hard to stay a realtor, right? So most realtors, you see them after they have to do their renewal in the first 2 years, you get a lot of dropout because it's not HGTV. It's not all glamour. Like you have to follow up with clients. You have to be there for clients. You got to make smart deals for your clients because if you're not making them money or saving them money, you're not going to get hired again. And this is all about referral with this business.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you go back to our industry on the lending side, at least on the non-bank side. The banks had a pretty powerful lobbying group, so a little bit different. But on the non-bank lending side, according to Dodd-Frank, that came out in 2010, they created a pretty significant barrier to entry for loan officers. Prior to that, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, you couldn't turn on a reality TV show without half the people participating saying, I'm a mortgage broker, I'm a loan originator, I'm this, I'm that. And they weren't. They were bartenders, but it sounded better to say this, or, they were, wannabe house flippers or who knows what. But I mean, now they change. I mean, you have to pass a test, you have to get bonded, insured, all this other stuff. And the test isn't easy. I was one of the few loan officers chosen by the state before this came out to help design the test. And then I got hired away to teach it. And I can tell you that, a lot of people, it makes it tough. So I don't know, maybe that may be coming down the way for you guys. It's hard to say, but to that point, if a lot of people, rather than refer to put their license in refer status, if they drop out, that means far less dues for NAR. So this could be like a double hit to them a little bit. But all right. So on that, we have a couple minutes left here. Tell people if they're interested in hiring you to be either buyer's agent or their seller's agent, how they can reach you and what sets you apart.
Yeah, if you're looking to buy, sell, invest, or join a team, give me a call. Easiest way to reach me is my phone number, 443-610-9462. Or you can go straight to our website, theintegrityplusnetwork.com.
All right, makes sense. All right, we're talking with Tony Zowd, and we have a lot more to discuss, including some cool, but very interesting stories I want to get his opinion on when it comes to the current marketplace. So stay with us. In the meantime, this is what our sponsors have to say, and in a couple minutes, we'll be back talking about some really good stuff. You get to hear what we have to say. Talk to you in a couple.
The Weekend Real Estate Report will be right back on 105.7 The Fan.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show.
Now back to the Weekend Real Estate Report on 105.7 The Fan.
All right, and we're back, and talking with Tony Zowd. He's with Coldwell Banker. Tony's been on the program numerous times, one of the top realtors in the area, and we're very fortunate to say that we have the privilege of also working with him on the financing side for a lot of his clients. So we appreciate that. But in the meantime, I wanted to talk about, Tony, I referred you a client, well, actually a couple clients, and recently, and one of them, she just posted on Facebook, but it's interesting because when you and I talked, she listed a property, you did your analysis, and it was dead on. But then, due to a stressful situation in someone in the community in that development, I think it was divorce or something, they listed a property for significantly less. And then you guys had a talk, and then literally 2 days later, someone else listed a house, looks like the same model, maybe a couple improvements, for like $50,000 more. So she's right there, right? The median price, but that to me is like a really weird story. That shouldn't happen all that often, especially that big a price disparity. But it goes to show you that this market is anything but normal because you still have distressed sales, like a divorce, relocation, something like that, where they have to sell quickly. Then you have other ones who are like, I'm going to take advantage and see what price I can get. And then what happens is you have the, well, maybe not the proper term, but the collateral damage in the middle who priced correctly. And now we're looking like, well, wait a minute. Why is this one less? Why is this one more? Like, have you seen something like this happen recently?
Yeah, so you're what you said is exactly dead on. So we listed the property, and we're getting ready to go under contract, and another property come on 50,000 less than us. When we listed, there was no other active properties, which is really good to be a seller. You don't have any competition. Well, the other property came on for 50,000 less. It's a slight bit bigger than ours. So we're like, you always want to lead the market, right? If we had saw their price, we probably would have adjusted just below that because you'll still get escalations. But when somebody comes in and hits you, now they're kind of leading the market over there. They got a quick contract. I understand it was divorce, so that's one of the reasons they did it so cheap. So they went under contract. We're sitting there, and we're talking about, what should we do? We did some extra marketing for it, but we like, one of the biggest things to grab people is a price reduction. So we were entertaining that, and another property came on, and that one's 50,000 more than ours, basically the same size. So they're under a timeline a little bit. So we did do a small price reduction of 10,000 just to kind of renew it, actually just as of yesterday. But it's a crazy neighborhood, right? I mean, you got three similar houses, and it's almost $100,000 difference between the three because you got one about 50,000 cheaper, and actually the other one I think was 55,000 higher. So it's unique. You want to lead the market. If you're going to be the top dog, that house better be immaculate, right? Because every house has issues. Not really issues, but there's negatives to every house. So the more of them you can take out, the bigger your buyer pool is. So that one that's listed that much higher better be outstanding because they're also going to have to hit the appraisal. Like you might get a contract, but now you got to show the appraisal, and you can believe the appraiser is going to be looking at our house and the one that's, basically 100,000 cheaper.
Yeah, especially if one of them sells before a contract's made. But on top of that, I mean, good point, because a great realtor is going to help that buyer, especially on a higher priced property, understand the clauses and addendums and things like if there's a gap, do you have the money to cover that type of situation? But this is what's interesting.
And you're not seeing the gaps as much as we were. Like every once in a while they pop up, but you're not getting the appraisal gaps like we were. Like you're starting to get a little bit where you're seeing maybe a home sale contingency, maybe even like some home inspections where, 6 months, a year ago, they were almost impossible to get.
Mm-hmm. But I think in the scenario that we just discussed, the person who has got the distress sale might actually get a bidding war because they're the lowest price in the market, right?
Oh, I definitely think so.
The one in the middle.
That's the one thing nobody sees, right? All you see is that list price.
Mm-hmm.
What is it going to settle at? Because they are definitely under market. And those are the properties where people think there's a deal. And then you get in and there is two other offers. They'll start escalating. Mm-hmm. So my prediction is they're probably going to escalate up to where we are, maybe even a little over. I don't think they're going to the other one. I think that one is a little overpriced.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Here's the weird conundrum in this marketplace, especially in this scenario. The lowest price one will probably get, as you just said, equal to or more than the median price one. The median price one may benefit a little bit more, but odds are that higher price one may actually come in less or have some pretty decent seller concessions just because there's probably not a whole lot to support it. But if nothing else is in that market, they may get lucky and be like, okay. So, I mean, I saw something the other day where someone paid, I can't remember how much it was, but it was a ridiculous amount of money. I want to say like 500 something $1,000. It wasn't in Maryland, but it was for like a 800 square foot house. And I'm like, wow, I mean, at that point, unless you could put an addition on, I'm not really sure. Like that's a lot of money per square foot, but
and we still have hot pockets. I mean, as a realtor, we're not supposed to talk about schools very often, but schools push value. And if you're in an area that's got a good, strong school, you are still seeing those multiple offers and some competition out there. It's not 20 offers typically, but like I said earlier, we just went against one that had 15. I'm more seeing in that 3 to 5 range on those hot areas. But if you get more than one offer, you're escalating. Like you never see that underpriced. And you in the public, you can pull it up, and I can pull it up through the MLS as well. When you're under contract, it does not tell you what the price is under contract. So it's a guessing game until it actually settles.
I was talking to a realtor in Pennsylvania the other day, and they told me that they actually had 4 offers on a property. And the client that was using us for financing was, I believe, the second highest offer. And the seller but they were asking for a little bit of concessions. And the seller's agent told them, go with this one because I know it'll close. And the seller's like, yeah, but it's more money the other way. And like, well, bird in the hands between the bush. I don't trust the lender the highest offer has, and it may not close. And we're only talking a tiny bit of money plus a small concession. So it's weird because we're starting to see 2 points there. One, it's so important that you choose the right lender. Some people go online and shop, and trust me, people online advertising with below market rates don't have those rates. They just know that that's what you're looking for. So they're going to tell you what you want to hear, get you to pay an application fee. And then you do all that. And then what happens if your offers are getting rejected because no realtor wants to use that company? But on top of that,
and that happens.
Yeah. I know. But it's one of those things that essentially first-time buyers or people who haven't bought or sold in many years don't think about. They just think, oh, well, it's a rate's a commodity. I'll just take the rate. It's really the service, the reputation, everything else. And I've shared stories over and over again where like we're not even close to the highest offer, but our offer's taken because we even have a couple of realtors that on the listing side, they won't even accept an offer unless they send the people to us to get pre-approved. There's no guarantee they have to use us, and they say you don't have to, but if Freedmont says you're approved and I trust you'll get done, and if this company screws up, I know I can go to them and they'll get it done. So it's kind of nice to be that sounding board, although I wish all of this turned into the clients, but if they already got a deal and pay the application fee, it's one thing. But the other part of that conversation is the concessions. Like some realtors are telling me they're seeing it more and more now, which is kind of strange given everything we just talked about with lack of inventory and demand, everything else. Are you seeing some instances where the seller concessions are being offered?
Yeah, you're starting to see it a little bit. It's still not very often unless they've overpriced the house. If you're on the market right now for 2 to 3 weeks, the house is still overpriced. So at that point, I'm telling my buyers that we probably can get a little bit of money off, might be able to get some seller help because they've overpriced it. They've missed their mark. So that's when you're typically seeing it. If it's only been on for a day or a week or even maybe 2 weeks, there's 2 parts to this, right? So the seller isn't in the mindset yet that he's overpriced it, even if it is overpriced, because they've seen everything else that's been going on with multiple offers and their neighbor sold real quick. So it takes a little bit of adjustment for that reality to kick in. But once you get past that part, you're going to start seeing it. And just to go back to what you were saying about the lenders, I use you guys, and one of the reasons is because a lot of these, they come in and like you said, they got those fishing prices nationally. You're not getting that. And then when I submit my offer, especially if we're in competition, the first thing the listing agent's supposed to do is reach out to the lender and verify everything that they're getting, right? That all that's true.
Yeah. You've looked at their tax returns. You've vetted them.
Exactly. If they can't get a hold of you on nights or weekends, because a lot of national lenders are 9 to 5, what happens? Your job is the same as mine. You help me sell that client. So a lot of times that combination of me putting a good offer together and then you being able to go back and tell the seller that they're qualified and they've actually been able to talk to you puts comfort on that side, which helps us get these offers accepted.
Correct. And then, like Kevin's been with me since we started the company. So, over 30 years doing this, he's got a great reputation coupled with ours. And, almost all the realtors know who we are. So, and they've worked with us at one time or another. So, yeah, you're right.
Kevin and his team's amazing. Haley, Kevin, like they're on top of it all the time.
Yep, and working weekends. I mean, they're on standby right now, as you know. So, I mean, these are
holidays, weekends, nights, which is the same thing as a realtor does, right? Real estate doesn't stop. So, if we can't have that communication, a lot of times it's us a combination helping it sell.
Yeah, and on top of that, one of the things we do is you don't need to do this, it's not required, but we go above and beyond. We license our loan officer assistants and our processors as loan officers simply so that if, to your point, Kevin's at one of your settlements and Haley's at one of Patricia's, in your team, well, and you have a client calling in saying, hey, I want to get a pre-approval. Well, they don't want to wait the hour for those two to get out of settlement, but you don't want them to not be your settlement. So now they can legally talk to a processor who can discuss rates and all those other things. And most lenders, to your point, the big banks, 9 to 5, not weekends, there's no way they're doing that. You get voicemail, you get a call back maybe the next day. Kevin and his team, our entire staff, you're getting calls back within the hour, if not sooner. So service, it's sometimes underappreciated or undervalued until you need it. It's kind of like insurance, right? Like life insurance. No one wants to write that check until it comes time that, you need the insurance, whether it's auto, homeowners, life, disability, whatever. Same thing with a great mortgage professional. You don't realize the importance until you need that pre-approval adjusted at 9:30 on a Friday night because you're going to see a house at 8 in the morning, and there's 12 other people going to be making offers. So super key there. So going forward,
Carl, I don't mean to interrupt you, but even adding to that, outside of that, so I have a team, and when Patricia was newer and Adriana, like Kevin and Haley, like they really helped educate them. So when they went into making these offers and actually got into real estate, they had that too, because you guys actually help coach a lot for the newer.
Yeah, we want to, because look, if we can help them have a quicker trajectory,
which is huge on our end.
Yeah, if we have to help them get a quicker trajectory, we all win, including the client. So, and I think that's another bonus of working with a company that's based right here in Maryland and locally owned and ready to go. Real quick, in the few minutes we have left, so let's just quick synopsis of the market right now. My opinion is it's going to be about 4 to 6 months of unpleasant times, and then somewhere around Q2, I do believe rates will start to improve. The market will start doing well, and then I'm hoping by spring, somewhere around probably late Q2, early Q3, I think we'll start seeing some positive signs. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of on that same feed with you. I think that going into next year, this time of year, we always get a little bit of thin inventory anyway. So as we get into spring and if the rates start dropping, we'll pick up a little inventory. I don't think it's going to flip completely to a buyer side. I still think it's more on the seller side, but it's more of a normalized market. So you're still getting, right now, like we talked earlier, getting some buyers, if they're looking for the houses, the ones that are sitting out there, they might get a little bit off or be able to get a little closing help. They can do a home inspection, which we couldn't do before. So that's a benefit to them. But seller-wise, you're selling pretty fast, and you're pretty much getting what you want. You're just not crazy escalations like it was. It's more normal, which we couldn't continue like through the COVID days. That was insanity. Like nobody be able to afford a house.
Absolutely. All right, we're talking to Tony Zowd. He's a Coldwell banker. We've got him on our Facebook page. So if you want to reach out to Tony, you can find it there. Tony, real quickly, your contact info.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. I'm Tony Zowd with the Integrity Plus Network of Coldwell Banker. If you need help selling, buying, investing, or looking to join a team, give me a call, 443-610-9462, or go check out our website at integrityplusnetwork.com.
And if you need a mortgage, 800-955-8508 or Freedmont, FREEDMONT.com, NMLS number 1846, SBA, commercial, bridge loans, reverse mortgages, and conventional FHA, 0% down, 1% down. We have it all. We're local. We underwrite ourselves. Give us a call. We even open on Sundays. All right, Tony, once again, I appreciate everything. And if anyone needs a great realtor, as I said, I referred Tony a couple of friends this past week, or actually past month, I should say. So hopefully both of them will find a house of their dreams with you and sell the house they're looking to sell, et cetera. But again, great realtor. If you're a realtor looking for an opportunity, he's looking to hire. And if you're a buyer or seller looking for a great experience, contact Tony. In the meantime, if you need us, contact us for a mortgage, never an application fee, and a complimentary home warranty as well. And once again, we will talk to you next Sunday.